Welcome to the training on human resources, hiring, and agreements, provided by the Utah Association of Public Charter Schools. The single largest expense in a school is people. Not only are people your biggest cost, but they are also one of the main factors in satisfaction, retention, and performance. You can't afford to get this wrong. Don't rush this decision. Beyond salary and benefits, you also spend time and money on training. The people in your school help establish your culture. Spend the time you need to recruit and retain the best. Once you have the people you want in your school, spend the time needed to mentor and monitor performance. Small course corrections can have large impacts. Waiting until a problem has become large means a large drain on resources. When deciding pay scales, you need to consider a number of factors. What does the local district pay in your area? Do you want established lanes based on degrees and experience? Do you want ranges that allow you room to move based on performance? Do not decide your positions or pay scales based on individuals. Determine school needs and budget before you start looking at candidates. Benefits are a large expense and can be a great recruiting tool. Your school board, with input from the school leader, will determine what benefits package you will offer. Think about what type of people you want to attract and design a package to attract that demographic. Benefits can also help with retention. Training can be expensive, and incentives to stay with your school can offset that cost. What if your school offers similar benefits to nearby schools, but teachers are expected to undergo more training and supervise morning and afternoon carpool? What if your school has no 401k and a high deductible insurance plan? What if your school has lower salaries? While many founders and parents of charter schools are very driven by the mission and vision of their school, prospective employees are focused on what is best for them personally. Staff want to be part of something they believe in. However, it is rare to find someone so committed to the mission of your school that they are willing to accept less compensation to be part of it. Make sure you are aware of the timing of employment cycles. Many new board members think staffing decisions are made in the summer. You will have a very poor pool of candidates if you use this approach. UAPCS hiring fair is held annually in early March because this is typically when staff begin looking for different positions. You should already know which positions you are recruiting for by this date. That means you should have already made an offer of a salary agreement to existing teachers and know if they intend to return. If you try to recruit out of this window, you will have a significantly smaller pool of candidates. If you have teachers you have concerns with, they should already be working on an improvement plan to correct deficiencies. There is an art to a good interview process. Make sure you prepare in advance. Having more than one person as part of the interview can be helpful to give different perspectives. It can also be helpful to avoid nepotism or other concerns about the decision. Determine who will add the most value to the process and understand the needs of the position. Sometimes think about who needs to buy into this decision. If this applicant is going to be part of the third grade team, would it be helpful to have the rest of the team involved? Do not add bodies simply to say that it was a group decision. Questions should be the same for all candidates, so make a list ahead of time. That's preferable to making it up as you go. Sometimes other people who are not as experienced with interviewing might ask unethical or discriminatory questions. Making a list in advance will avoid this. Try to ask open-ended questions to see how the candidate responds. For instance, if you asked, "Are you familiar with direct instruction?" the candidate is going to know what you're looking for and likely respond affirmatively, regardless of their actual experience. A better question would be, what kind of teaching methods have you used in the past? Because charters can operate very differently than other schools, make sure you ask about things that may be unique to your culture. Some ideas include having them give examples of the types of collaborative experiences they've had, different assessment methods, examples of data collection, behavior management ideas, and any special skills or interests. While someone who believes strongly in the Montessori method might have great experience in the past, they will likely have a difficult time fitting into a direct instruction school. Once you decide to move forward on a candidate, give them a conditional offer based on completion of a background check. do not have a candidate begin working or finalize employment until the background check has been returned. Especially at certain times of the school year, you may be tempted to shortcut the process and get a body in a classroom. In certain circumstances, if you have an employee start working, then the background check is returned with information you're uncomfortable with, you can't use the information as a basis for termination. In that instance, you would now be liable for unemployment simply because you did not wait until the background check was returned. Even though it's frustrating, it's worth the wait. After you've made an initial offer and the background check has come back to your satisfaction, you can finalize a salary agreement and they begin work. Make sure everyone is clear that a salary agreement is where you both agree on the amount an individual will be paid for a specific time period. It is not a contract. Sometimes people get confused in education because union positions offer annual contracts. Utah is an at-will state. This means that either the employer or employee can terminate the position at any time. However, this does not mean that employers can terminate employees without cause. You do not choose whether you have an employee return or not each school year. Employees can expect continued employment unless they do not meet the expectations of their position. In order to terminate employment, you must be prepared to show cause that they did not meet the expectations of their position. You made them aware they were not meeting those expectations, gave them time to correct the problem, and they did not. You also do not want to be in a position where the employee is unaware that they may not be returning next year, but find out that you've already posted the position so that you will have a good candidate pool to choose from. By early spring, you should know who wants to work at your school for the next year and already have a warning and improvement plan in place for those who are not meeting job expectations. For instance, administration does not like the job Mrs. Smith is doing in her classroom. Rather than have a difficult discussion, they wait until the end of the school year to tell her they don't want her to return next year. In this case, the school would have to pay Mrs. Smith's unemployment costs until she found a new job. If they waited until the end of the school year to do this, many schools would have already filled existing positions, which would only make finding a new position more difficult. Instead, the school leader should have had a meeting with Mrs. Smith at the semester. She should have been informed about how she was not meeting expectations, given some suggestions to improve, and a deadline to have those changes made. These items should be discussed in person, and an improvement plan should have been written and signed. Depending on her feelings, Mrs. Smith may have started looking for new employment over the spring. Mrs. Smith may have been unaware of the problems and made the necessary corrections. If Mrs. Smith's changes did not meet the expectations, or Mrs. Smith was unable to find another position, she may need to be terminated. If then she filed for unemployment, there would be an employment hearing where a judge would request and review her employment file. If the judge determined that Mrs. Smith was terminated for cause after being made aware of the problem, given time to correct the problem, and was unable to do so, then the school would not be liable for any unemployment expense. The same sort of scenario would apply to a school leader position, except that the school board would be the one giving the improvement plan. The timing would be similar. Do not put off having a difficult discussion until the problem has become so big it is affecting school culture or can no longer be tolerated. At that point, if you were to terminate an employee, you would be liable for unemployment insurance. School budgets are too tight to take on this unnecessary expense. Address the problems early when they are not only easier to resolve, but have less financial impact on the school. Once you have a new employee, you're not done. Make sure you put in the time and effort to give them a great start. Training, mentoring, and oversight are all important components to every new employee, regardless of past experience. If you add a new staff in the middle of the year, make sure they're caught up to date with any training that they were not a part of. Every school has a different culture and expectations. Particularly in a brand new school, everyone coming in has different ideas about how things will work. Clearly defining expectations, modeling the behavior you want to see, and catching problems early are all vital. You can also do this in the middle of the chaos that comes with a brand new school or even a new school year. It's easy to be overwhelmed with fighting fires and therefore may neglect setting everyone on the right path. Sometimes existing staff needs help remembering the passion that brought them to teaching in the first place. It's easy to get distracted by fires, but time spent supporting your staff will pay more dividends in the future. We hope this has been a helpful reminder of how important proper human resource management is. We wish you all the best in governing your charter school. This training has been provided from a grant by the Utah State Charter School Board.